Hey everyone, haven't made a video in a while, almost a month. We were out of the country for a couple weeks and away from home for 3 weeks or whatever. So we've got a lot of catching up to do. Since we got home, we had to mow the lawn and whatever, a bunch of other crap. But today's project is I took my bucking table apart. This is what I use for bucking logs on. I had prior to these 4x4s, I had 2x4s vertically toe screwed in here to support logs when I put them on before I buck them. And here I'll insert a picture of that somewhere right around here. It worked pretty well with the exception of since they were 2x4. Well, an explanation. When I put the logs on that I bought from the logging company, they were all cut at 100 inches. This table is 96. So there's always 4 to 6 inches extra from what the loggers cut. And so I would pull all the logs flush with one side or the other so that that extra 4 or 5 inches just came off of one side when I was done bucking. And then I can use those smaller ones in our outdoor fire pit or our fireplace, even whatever. But when you move the logs back and forth to get one side flush, it made those 2x4s want to tilt over and lay down. So I took those off. I'm hoping by putting 4x4s across the top and then either carriage bolting them through these 2x4x8s or using timber screws to screw them down in certain places where I have to when there's vertical posts there. I can't put a carriage bolt, that they'll be less likely to want to move or tip over or whatever. So I'm not sure how much of that I'm going to record, or maybe I'll time lapse this because I'm sure you'll get bored with it. But after that, I'm not sure. I need to cut some more trail yet. And I've got a steel string trimmer with a circular saw blade on it that I have never used yet. And I'm hoping to help clear trail with that, get all the raspberries and vines and crap out of the way, and then take the Kubota with the stump grinder through and grind the stumps down that are still in the way. Either that, or there's 2 dead pine trees that I need to cut down as well. So if you hang out, you'll see exactly what I decide to do once I get done with this. But I'll catch up with you in a few minutes. Okay, if you look, I've got all my 4x4s screwed in with the timber frame screws. And I don't know if you could tell, but these countersink nicely. So if you do happen to miss with the saw bar and chain at some point, you'd have to go pretty far in there to actually hit the screw heads, which is nice. And now maybe you'll see how, if I pulled a layout, which I did there, you'll see 16 inches to the center here, another 16 inches, which is 32 to the center here, and so on, all the way down. It's an 8-foot table exactly. And let me see when you can see where the pencil's not all faded off. Like here, this was my old layout. That was the exact 16 on center. Then it went 3/4 of an inch either way, which only left me 1.5 inches. Now I've got roughly 2 inches in between all the way across, which should be easier for me to keep the bar centered in between the 4x4s. Now I just have to put some upright 2x4s like right here all the way down, which keeps, once you dig into the logs with your saw chain, they want to roll towards you. So the upright 4x4s, which will stand about this tall, should keep the rounds from rolling off onto you or off of the table as you cut. So I'll check in again once I have those put up, and we're done with this thing. It's been sitting in my garage for months. I'm so glad to finally about have it be done. Okay, I got all the vertical uprights in here. That should catch the rounds as I buck them off the logs. I didn't have good fasteners here, so I tried the same old stupid, I don't know if you can see, 3-inch drywall screws. And I've got a million drill tips. None of them seem to fit those drywall screw heads correctly. And I just don't like them. I hated them. So after putting a few of those in, I said, screw it. And I just nailed them in with my pass load impulse. It's not going to be a permanent solution because nails come out easier than screws, but that helps, and it hurts. They'll get loose quicker, but when they do get loose, I can also just beat them off of there versus trying to get those freaking screws out, which were impossible before. So I don't know, it feels pretty solid for now. We'll see how it works after a couple of weeks of practical use. But that's it. It's done. I'm take it down to the wood yard. Finally, get it out of my shop. It's been sitting there for a couple of months. I need that space. Hey, we're back. We're going to take the tractor and go get that bucking table, bring it down to the wood yard, so it can finally be out of my shop, garage, whatever. I'm mad at myself because we had a as far as snow goes, we had a very mild winter. I could have been down here bucking logs. Granted, I mean, we had our wet periods when this whole wood yard gets pretty wet. So there's times I couldn't have been bucking and processing firewood, but for the most part, I could have got all of this done easily if I would have just got that darn bucking table finished. But I don't know, I've got a million projects going on at any given point in time, and put one on the back burner and then you just forget about it. The next thing you know, 2 or 3 months have gone by. So I'm mad at myself for that, but it's done now. Now that spring and summer-like weather, though, it's pushing 80 degrees, is here. When it's cool in the mornings, I can come down and process firewood. I don't know that I'll do it all day because I'm not much for that heat, but we'll see. I'm just glad to have my shop and my garage back to myself so I can do other tasks in there and take on other projects. I don't know if I've told anybody here how much I love these fork extensions. They help when moving IBCs that are full of firewood, because down there I'm not on asphalt and the weeds and stuff grow up, so it's really hard to tell if I'm getting the forks under the IBC or if if they're cocked in there and I'm not getting it correctly. And stuff like this where I can't see the forks. Well, I can see them a little better now that I've got the extensions on there and they're yellow. It helps me see. But these things are great. They're cheapies. I think I paid $150, maybe even less, on Amazon. I'm sure they're Chinesium and garbage. I mean, I don't use them to lift heavy weight. If I'm moving IBCs, I pull them back close to the brick guard so that I'm actually placing most of the weight on the real pallet forks, not the fork extensions. Because I'm sure I could bend them relatively easy, but I love these things. They come in real handy. Well, I was tempted not to show you guys this because it was strictly my fault because I was being lazy. Because the forks, I didn't want to move them closer together so that they would fit in between the center section correctly. I was too lazy to do that. I picked it up off kilter. When I was headed down to the barn, the whole thing started tipping on the forks. It came down on this side, and it kicked in these two legs on the outside. So, my own mistake. I was tempted not to show it to you guys, but there's no sense in being dishonest about it. It should be an easy enough fix. I'll take this 4x4 off the top. I'll cut these were screwed in between these two plates. I put a single plate on, screwed it down to the legs, and then screwed the second plate down to the first one. So instead of taking all that apart, I'm just going to cut the screws off with a Sawzall, take this 4x4 off, use some more of those 6-inch Timberlock screws to go down through both top bottom plates into the post, and it should be a fix. So I'll get on that now. Okay, I cheated, and apparently it worked. Instead of cutting those screws off, I just put 2 Timberlocks through the top plates, and it actually sucked all that up. I got the legs pretty straight. They're not perfect, but they don't need to be. I need to have another sway on this side to hold everything square. I never put one on there because I thought I was planning it out that it would be easier without a sway being on those 4 legs on this side, without the sway to get forks in there, which it is, but it takes away from the platform's rigidity. I may end up putting one on yet, but now I just have to put that top 4x4 on the end over here, and we're done. All right, we've got the bucking table back where it originally was, well, off a few feet. You see that big pile of rubbish and sawdust and crap. That's where the pile was, right over that. I moved the table away from that so I could put a bucket on and scrape that crap out of the way, but it's still in close proximity to that stack of logs, and it's not too far away from that stack of logs, so it should work. I'm so glad it's back here and not in my garage anymore. Okay, fork extensions and forks are off, grapples on. Had to play Tetris in the garage because getting to certain implements are buried behind others is a real pain in the butt, but we are ready to go. Thanks for watching.